Hi guys. As I got a beautiful introduction from Debbie. My name is Sarah Amitay. I'm with Mobext, which is Havas Media's basically mobile arm, and we work with a number of different brands in the space, from QSR to travel to retail. So we've been around in the Boston area for 3 years. Is that or no? Actually, longer. I've been there for 3 years, which is dog's age. But we've been in Boston for. Actually, it's going to go on 5. So I guess we're mobile dinosaurs, if you will, but happy to be here. We're going to talk a little bit about mobile measurement, and it can be a topic of frustration, confusion. I did see something on the internets the other day that talked about where we're at when it comes to mobile measurement, and the statement was we're in diapers. Not the visual that I wanted, but it does speak to sort of how young we are. But the fact of the matter is that we're in a space of great change, and so while we're growing up, we need to know what are the tools we can use. I wanted to introduce Jennifer Lum. She was on the earlier panel, which was great. But Jennifer has a great perspective on what's going on in the space as well, given that she's probably been in it maybe longer than I have, but not totally sure. But Jen, introduce yourself a little bit to the group.
Hi, everyone. Jennifer Lum. I'm one of the co-founders of a mobile data and advertising company called Adelphic. We are 2.5 years old. I've been working in mobile since January of 2005. Is that
close?
Close. Okay. Worked for a number of Boston-based mobile companies. So the first one being MCube, a great company focused around mobile messaging and content. The second being one of the first leading mobile ad companies called Quattro Wireless. We became Apple's mobile ad platform, the iAd platform, and now we're working on bringing audience-based solutions to mobile.
So just wanted to talk a little bit about maybe some stats you guys have heard, haven't heard, probably some that scare some digital marketers. I feel like I'm ignoring you people over here. Hold on. Anyway, so some of the facts that we have going out there. So obviously, over half of the United States is walking around, people in the United States are walking around with a smartphone. A third of them have a tablet. The recent fact I just read is that globally there will be more more smartphones and tablets installed than PCs. So we've been talking about the sales rates, the growth rates in mobile, et cetera, et cetera. Now we're talking about a shift where people are using devices for computing. And they are not abandoning it, but they are certainly shifting their behavior. So to have a larger install base of mobile devices in the world is definitely a huge migration. So ergo, the title of this conference. In terms of what that might mean in the advertising industry and the digital industry, mobile advertising will be a $7 billion industry in 2013. And I know there are a lot of people here who are interested in selling mobile advertising. So, and they expect that 15% of online retail sales will be made on a mobile device this year. So really just huge shifts. People are doing what they do on a computer on their phone. People are doing what they're doing on their computer on their tablet. And then Facebook, just recent announcement, 30% of all their advertising is now mobile. So with that said, digital marketers trying to figure out what to talk to their clients about and what they should be doing, we're in an interesting space. But it's a complex one, right, Jen? We've got different devices, different operating systems. We have publishers, we have networks. Uniques are hard to come by. How do we size this audience? How do we qualify this audience? And then we have things like, rich media. We have apps. We have that, have to be measured as well. And then we have things like real-time data and RTB. So there's a lot going on. Jen, I'd call it the Wild Wild West. How do you feel about it?
I'd say that's fairly accurate. I would say that we have come a long way since the earliest days of mobile. But really coming from a market where there is so much fragmentation, so few standards, I think there's a lot of great progress that's been made, especially in the past couple years, around coming to some solutions around effective measurement.
I mean, I think what's really challenging for a lot of people out here is that you have to think beyond the cookie now. The cookie doesn't count. It's session dependent. It's deleted almost immediately, and then we're also just talking about the mobile web. So what happens with apps? So how do you get your arms around that? Is the biggest challenge. And then when you layer in everything else you can put in there, location, context, all kinds of stuff. What's a digital marketer do? So I thought that we would talk about what are your options out there, because there are some that are not being explored because we're used to online standards. We're used to Dart. We're used to Omniture. We're used to sort of an environment where somebody sits in front of a computer and does what we've retargeted them to do or what we know about them. So Jen, what are our options? Are there other servers besides Dart, ad servers besides Dart that we should be considering?
Absolutely. So there are a number of mobile-only ad servers on the market. They can range from Motion to MoPub, AdMarvel. Others you'd throw in the mix there?
Those are the ones that our agency is looking at and evaluating. But MediaLets has developed a program. I mean, we know that folks like Fluent are also looking at it as well. So there's literally fragmentation within fragmentation, right? Mm-hmm. But the limitations that Dart currently has, and I'm certainly not here to trash lovely Google or any of that, but there are things that maybe a native mobile company is looking at and building product around that we as digital marketers have to kind of consider.
Right.
What would those be?
Yeah. So I think you already raised the point that many of the leading online ad systems have really built their stacks solely on the cookie as a basis of identifying a user, targeting, retargeting, tracking, and measurement, right? So in the absence of a reliable cookie in the mobile space, many mobile technology companies, ad technology companies, have invested heavily in figuring out a solution that is not reliant on the cookie. So there are many other data signals to take advantage of in mobile, and
yeah, absolutely. I mean, one thing that I think that we're looking at from a Havas perspective is evaluating who has sort of the best tool within mobile. So again, I forgot to mention Rhythm New Media and their mobile ad server as well is pretty robust. So it's really a matter of sitting down with the analytics teams within your agency and having a discussion around how do we get this in front of the client, how do we evaluate who's better than others. And how do we kind of operationalize having two potentially sets of tools within our organization? And right now, I think our clients are a little bit more focused on maybe some front-end metrics while we figure out and hope that some of the players dependent on cookies can come around. But in the meantime, it's our job as kind of leading-edge marketers to say there's other solutions in there. Let's test them out. Let's get them into the mix. So my hope is coming away from this is that some of the agency folks here, some of the strategists here are taking a look at other solutions to kind of get at the data that our clients are rather frustrated that we don't quite have yet. Nobody wants to hear we can't get that because it's mobile, because you can, and you could probably get some more robust information, and mobile is getting so big that we don't really have an excuse anymore to not explore those opportunities. So do you think if we could put our future, put the future lens on things, do you think that agencies will be changing over? I know that what I'm saying is lead the charge, but right. What do you think it takes, on your end from your view for the agencies to do that?
So I think we're definitely seeing many agencies, and even at the holding company level, companies making the deliberate decision to invest in utilizing and making a selection around a strategic partner in the ad serving space. It's no longer, I think, a valid point for marketers or agencies to be saying there's this incremental cost involved in working with another ad serving partner. I don't know how to justify it. It's like, if you haven't already, you're just way behind, right? Look at the massive shift of media consumption and consumer behavior to the mobile platform. It's really a no-brainer, and you should absolutely be investing in a system that can allow you to more effectively manage your marketing initiatives.
I mean, it seems like we have to kind of go back to like maybe the days of like online video or even social, when, you know, certain players could not really evaluate what the value of or what the interaction rates were. We had to go with site surf for a little while. And then we have to figure out solutions that are a little bit better in terms of actually delivering the data that the clients are really looking for.
Right. And when you think about mobile, and mobile representing the largest set of data available in digital, you ideally want to be using a system that can take advantage of all of those great data points in real time to drive mobile behavior.
So I don't know if, I don't know if it's been talked about a little bit, but I think what's also interesting is like, as we think beyond cookie, right? What are the things that folks should be thinking about in terms of tracking, in terms of, uniques, et cetera? I mean, we've heard about the IDFA from Apple replacing UDID. We have the UID from Android, and we have like device fingerprinting. What are your thoughts around those technologies? As a means to kind of gain some insight?
Sure. So I think they are all helpful steps forward in terms of providing some level of standards across the ecosystem. However, I do believe that a unified standard or mechanism is still required in order to make life and doing business easier for marketers and publishers.
Yep. Yeah. Ooh, is it going to be you?
I think we have a good chance at it.
I think you do too. So do you want to talk a little bit about what Adelphic's up to in the space and how it relates to the challenge of measurement?
Sure. So one of our core pieces of technology is a proprietary method of identifying a user. And the way that we use it today is solely in the mobile channel, but the technology itself has been designed to work across any IP-enabled device. And so I believe we're going to receive the official patent grant later this month on that, so we're pretty excited about that. But the way that you can think about this piece of technology is sort of as a proxy for a cookie, right? And so this allows us and our partners, whether they are advertisers or marketers or publishers, to finally identify and understand who their mobile users and consumers are. It allows us to layer data around them, build profiles around them, and also move towards great things like sophisticated targeting, retargeting, optimization, and analytics.
So this is sort of like, the holy grail, right? So we've been in some ways flying a little bit blind up until now as it relates to targeting. We're relying on third-party data. We're kind of almost relying on front-end metrics. And what I think is interesting about some of the solutions that Jennifer's talking about is that this is real kind of information post-click, retargeting, which is an area that I think all brands should be really taking a look at, and all marketers should be taking a look at and testing. As it relates to how we get our clients on board, I think Jen was going to say, well, how are you selling it in? But and so it's been a battle. The one thing that I've noticed is that clients again are sort of they've been okay with. We know it's the year of mobile, and I'm so glad that that thing is dead, at least like 2 or 3 years ago. But I think that what they've said to us is, we know that they're on phones, okay, and we know they're on tablets, but I need to know what they're doing post-click. I need to understand a little bit more about engagement times. And we've had to say to them, I have to tell you that it's not all going to come from one source. It's going to come from multiple sources, and it's going to be a little bit of a data dive with us. And for the most part, I've found that clients are willing to take that if you can kind of demystify or simplify that conversation a little bit more. So just like your known online tool, X tool, can provide you this level of insight. So I think there is a way to actually kind of, sell it in as not, we don't know about it because it's mobile, but it's mobile, and here are some of the tools that we need to use to assess it. I agree that it's really not an incremental charge. It's a different tool set. We buy tool sets all the time. We just need to be really smart about evaluating them.
And how do your clients think about the sort of the utility that mobile brings in terms of the response, the direct response aspects of mobile?
What we've seen is just real enthusiasm around it and wanting to scale. I think is the biggest challenge. So it's great to be able to get really granular around, for example, if you, and we're talking about location in a little bit, if we talk about location, they love the idea that I can target an audience. They think street level, they think right in front of their competitor store level, but they love the ability to kind of get that close and personal. But what they want to do is get close and personal with everybody at all times. And so we just have to, kind of take them back a little bit into the consumer experience and what's right for them, when's the right time to deliver. But overall, I think that because we're all walking around with these phones and we're all walking around with these tablets, that marketers get it more and more and more, even more so than and faster than I think, having been in the digital space way too long. Even faster than what I've seen with desktop and PC, and how we defined that as digital marketing. The hockey stick of consumer usage has woken a lot of people up, for sure. Now we need a lot of help figuring out what this all means, and have to start testing, new tools to kind of figure that out. Yep. I know that we were behind on time, so I did want to, if nothing else, I'd love to open up to the folks here. Anybody out there having challenges with clients that we can help with, or questions about, our space and what's going on in measurement? This guy.
Sure. So, in the absence of a standard or a cookie being reliable in mobile, we've come up with a way of being able to identify who a user is in web browsers, in app environments, and across devices. So we call it an Adelphic identifier, and you can think of it as a proxy to a cookie in the online space.
Question about the same thing, which is sort of like, how does it work?
Good question. So we do look at identifiers such as cookies or IDFA or Android ID when available, and all of that factors into our determination of who a user is. But we're also looking at many other signals in combination in real time to make that determination and to assign an ID to that user.
Are you guys doing Wi-Fi bridging as well? So are you guys pairing devices within the home as well? Okay. So do you guys know what Wi-Fi bridging is? Okay. Sweet. So essentially, there's some players in the space, Adelphic being one of the leaders, that are looking at, so we all use our phones at home. We have our PCs, we have our smartphones, and we have our tablets, and we're often watching television while we're using both of these devices, which is crazy. But what we've come to understand is that we can really pair up your devices. So using your Wi-Fi signal, your Wi-Fi IP address, I can't personally, but you can connect your tablet, your PC, and your smartphone devices, and there are folks out there that can then assign that as an ID, so they know just a little bit more about you, and then they can cross-target you across screen, which is really, I think, very interesting, in that this just opens up all kinds of ideas around, I can be on all three screens, I can reinforce my message, I can think about day parting and which devices are being used at different times, and I'm using them within sort of a unified ID. So that gets, I think, kind of really cool. Not too big brotherish if we do it right, but just an interesting way to kind of cross that chasm of the individual devices. Yes, sir.
So a couple questions. So one is, I like how talking about the one screen and it just works. So at what point will we no longer need to have a mobile event like this, because it's just all going to be combined, right? So that's one
Debbie?
question. And then the second part of that is, it's great to have a client who's willing to do these things, but I mean, I have clients who are spending $1 million a month doing display, and every month they're thinking, I need to do mobile, but they just don't do it. How do you get those ones over? And how do you get the clients who are saying, my cost per sale used to be $25 last year, this year it's going to be $14. I just barely got used to view-through attribution. Now you're asking me to go with a proxy cookie for my attributions lower. Mobile's still cheap, so in theory, all these things should still work. But connecting those dots for big clients spending millions of dollars a month anyway, how do we get them to start spending more of it in mobile?
Well, there's a couple ways to think about it. Maybe some ways that some agency folks may not agree with or what have you. But as far as like when we're going to have a non-mobile event, because we've kind of crossed that chasm, I think we're probably getting close. I mean, if we were to talk about social is mobile. 70% of all activity roughly on the major social outlets are now mobile. So it's getting to a point where the devices themselves too, tablets in particular, are becoming, computing production, devices. You can create on them, you can produce on them. So I think the people that are shaking in their shoes are Windows, in terms of, the operating system kind of closing in on Android and Apple. But when we have that event, I think it's not too far off. I think we can almost see it. I don't know about next year, but I could see it being close.
And I agree.
Keep
like
going.
I think that mobile and mobile data will become the anchor data set across all of digital, but it doesn't mean that the other screens are going to fall away, right? In fact, more appliances are going to light up, more devices will become connected, and the mobile devices will become the ones that help. They'll become the glue that help connect scenarios and context from one to another. So Sarah gets in her car, or she's at home. She's on her mobile. She sees something on her fridge. She gets to her car. The mobile connects the services in the car. She gets to work. The mobile connects the
wait for that
services
day.
at work too. So I think there's going to be more screens popping up, but mobile becomes the glue that sews everything
I
together.
like the idea of like mobile as the anchor set. That's a huge, huge shift. Many very, very, very disruptive, but it is eventually going to be at that because we are leading mobile lives, and our lives are mobile, so it's going to become interchangeable pretty soon. In terms of clients, in terms of how to, I think that I've had success, but I've also been doing it for a long, long time, and it's definitely an educational process that takes time. But what I have seen is momentum from clients in that they're seeing so much data from their sites coming through mobile devices that they realize they're missing an opportunity if they're not kind of in the space. In terms of, how to, if we're talking, more direct or kind of, lead gen kind of campaigns, I think that they may have to kind of alter their thinking in those lanes. But I think also from a brand perspective, if we're looking at top of the funnel, they've got to start maybe looking at the shift between if their digital budget is X, that there's maybe a percentage of that budget that becomes more mobile, and they really got to dive deep with their agency to understand what they're getting out of it and what's new. It's been a bit of a slog, but I have started to see some significant like kind of momentum from the clients in the last year or so. Sounds like you are as well. It's just a matter of
Huge influx of traffic. They're trying to figure out how do we get this user to buy now that he's coming to my site all the time. And
I do think that Google Enhanced is going to be a game changer as well, right? So Google Enhanced coming, I think, sometime in the July timeframe will collapse search so that you can no longer buy device specific, you just buy search. So I think that is a big thing to be talking about with your clients as well, as search is 60% of a budget, 65% of a budget, depending on what the brand is. So how are they responding to that major shift? Because if they do not have a mobile-ready site, if they do not have some way to optimize to a mobile device, they're going to get stuck, and the algorithm is gonna maybe hurt them a little bit in the huddle. So it's going to be really, really interesting. Work fast, ask lots of questions of the partners, especially the ones in this room, and get tests going now as well. I think that's the biggest thing is that if you're still waiting for certain partners to kind of update their mobile product, probably better off to start now, test, and then evaluate your current partners from online to see if they're kind of up to snuff. I think you'll get a lot more out of some of the hungrier kind of first party players for right now. One girl's view, maybe two.
With the Wi-Fi bridging, is that something that the device just does or the technology just does? Do you have to opt in for that to say, yes, you can track me and, all of my devices? How does that work?
At a high level, the way that it works is that in order for the device to connect to the internet in your home, you're connecting via Wi-Fi, so if you are connecting with your device and you are consuming media that's connected to a platform such as Adelphic, JumpTap, PayPal, our platforms have the ability to say, this is a device connected to Wi-Fi at this IP address, consuming this media, and then there's a triangulation process that can occur to say, oh, well, we know that these n number of other devices are also connecting to this IP address within this certain, let's say, lat long. And as we see that traffic coming through the platform, we can make certain inferences around the usage there. So in terms of user opt-in, I think what's quickly becoming standard and best practice is that mobile ad tech companies should be providing the standard ad choices notification upon delivering ads to you, right? So there's that user notification that you can opt out if desired.
Question I've always had about it is when you're looking at Wi-Fi bridging, most homes these days have a number of mobile devices that are connecting to that same Wi-Fi network. Small offices, you might have 50 or more people connecting to that same Wi-Fi network. Coffee shops, etc. So how do you make that determination that this is a unique person and not a member of a family or a member of an office? And how do you distinguish between those different devices?
Sure. So there's a lot of science behind what we do, but I'll try to throw out a few higher level points. So one is the ability to key in on residential IP address versus commercial, right? So the example you gave is great. There's 50 people sitting at Starbucks. If there's 1,000 people in this building right now, likely the 1,000 people are, not in one bucket or segment. One tactic that another company publicly talks about is looking at the content consumption by device to determine or to infer that perhaps this user of these two devices who frequently look at Entertainment Tonight, People, and let's say another entertainment-based site is likely person A within this family. This person who's using a tablet at this time of night, who's always looking at ESPN and a bunch of other sports sites and stocks, maybe they're the dad.
Thanks, everybody.